Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poems of Emily Dickinson that are contained in the Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 110, Artists Wrestled Here. We are in some ways back to the wrestling that was a part of poem 59. I love this little poem because you have this genius gifted artist talking about the challenges that it is to be an artist. The word artists gets used one time only in all of Emily's poetry, and it will be right here in this poem. That alone makes this a fascinating study for us. Now, I'm assuming that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net down that left-hand side. Again, Chats with Emily, our playlist. And I'm hopeful that you have had already some exposure to our introductory set of comments. And I'm hopeful as well that you've already worked through the previous 109 poems. We just finished with By a Flower, By a Letter in poem 109. Now, if you read all of these poems up to this poem, you have already seen Emily's struggling to try to understand the work that she does. What is it that artists do? It seems to be clear here that she's probably playing around less, though, when she uses the word artists with writers, and she's probably talking more about visual artists, that is to say painters and the like. We'll read the poem and try and figure it out. Now, the challenge of this poem is actually pretty simple if you accept the potentiality, and again, it's always a potentiality with Emily, that she's challenging herself and others to describe a sunset. And I think she's making the argument in this poem that artists and art are limited when it comes to, in any way, really representing nature. Let's just enjoy the poem. Artist wrestled here, lo, a tent, cashmere, lo, a rose, student of the year, for the easel here, say, repose. Now, when you read this poem out loud, you hear the rhythms, you hear the beautiful rhymes, here, cashmere, year, a repetition of the word here, and then, of course, rose and repose. So there's some genius going on here in terms of just the language of the game that she's playing. Again, it's her only use of the word artists happens here. And in some ways, she could be talking about poets. She could be talking more about visual artists. And I love the idea that artists are those who wrestle. Of course, the idea is a biblical one. The story of Jacob, again, back to, the ideas in 59. And the notion of wrestling with God and all of that. Notice, the immediacy of the wrestled here takes us again back to 59, poem 59. And then the use of the word lo twice. Lo, a tent cashmere takes us back to poems 64 and 85. Of course, the coloration of the sunset. And then again, the exclamation points. Did you see all of those as well? Notice that lo, a rose. In other words, the attempt to try to capture in the visual arts what this sunset looks like. And then all of a sudden it's student of the year. Well, what is she referencing? Probably the best artist, we might say. For the easel here, say, repose. Now, of course, the use of the word repose takes us back to poem 109, the previous poem. And as I said in that lecture, repose is one of Emily's words that she will throw out regularly. I mean, I'll just give you the list again. We've already seen it in poems 27, 29, 93, and of course, as we said, in 109. We'll see it in poems 152. In poem 423, it will be an ultimate repose. And then in poems 718, 942, 943, as well as 1068 and 1334. So it's interesting how she tries to use this notion of repose. Now, in poem 291, she'll talk about the challenges of being paralyzed when one tries to portray certain kinds of art, nature as it relates to art itself. And I find this a fascinating poem in 291. I mean, we're gonna obviously study it in more detail here. How the old mountains drip with sunset, how the hemlocks burn, how the dun brake is draped in cinder by the wizard's sun. By the end, though, of this, it is, these are the visions flitted widow, Titan never told. Domenichino dropped his pencil, paralyzed with gold. And I think the argument that Emily is making in a poem like this is that even the student of the year, which there may obviously be some Emily sarcasm going on here, I love to think that there probably is, seems to suggest that nature is always going to in the end be translinguistic. All great art is by definition also translinguistic. We're never going to get the right words or the right paint color to be able to capture the beauty of the sunset. I love the rhyme scheme. I love that there's, in a poem of so few lines, 5 exclamation points. I like at 3A to think about Wordsworth's "My heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky. So was it when my life began, so is it now I am a man. So be it when I shall grow older, let me die." The glorification of something as simple as the rainbow. I obviously here, she doesn't say that it's the sunset she's describing, but it's maybe inferred. I also like to think of T.S. Eliot's Prufrock's line, "It's impossible to say just what I mean." And I think there's some of that going on here, which takes us back to Keats's Ode on a Grecian Urn. The idea that the urn is more majestic and more beautiful than anything that Keats says he can say about this urn. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net on both Prufrock and Wordsworth's Rainbow, as well as, of course, Keats's Ode on a Grecian Urn. To own a poem like this, how about this? What was a time when you were in awe of nature, but you couldn't say anything or do anything in the form of artistry that could even come close to capturing what that's like? I find Emily's challenge to us a wonderful one. Thank you.